Some breaking news, folks. It's actually happening. Ben Nicholson-Smith has just dropped a bombshell report surrounding the Jays' pursuit of Max Scherzer, and things have not only gotten very real, very fast, but it appears that a signing is imminent. We're going to break down this new report and discuss
It's funny how baseball does this to you. One quiet moment, you're convincing yourself that the roster is probably set, that the last big move has already passed you by, and then out of absolutely nowhere, the ground starts to rumble. That's what today feels like. The kind of day where your phone buzzes, your eyebrows lift, and you mutter, "Oh, this might actually be happening," with a half laugh you didn't plan. Because when the report dropped that the Toronto Blue Jays have become the most serious pursuer of Max Scherzer, it didn't just feel like news. It felt like intent. I've been around this game long enough to know the difference between noise and momentum, and this one has teeth. When Ben Nicholson-Smith reports that talks have intensified, that other clubs are hovering but the Jays are firmly in pole position, you don't brush that aside. You lean in. You start imagining the knock-on effects. You start hearing echoes of last October, of clenched fists, burning eyes, and a clubhouse that thrived on shared defiance. On the Blue Jays report, this is exactly the kind of moment we live for, because it tells you what a front office really believes it's missing. Let's be clear, this isn't about chasing Cy Young numbers anymore. Those days are framed on the wall, admired but not demanded. This is about presence. Scherzer at this stage is less a pure weapon and more a loaded atmosphere. He changes rooms. He sharpens edges. He sets a tone without raising his voice, which is ironic given how loud his competitiveness has always been. You don't sign him just for innings. You sign him because every pitcher around him feels watched by the standard he refuses to lower. And yes, the plan, if this deal gets over the line, is patience. There's no mad dash to have him ready for opening day heroics. The whispers suggest a gradual build, an April or even May arrival on the mound. That's fine. Frankly, that's smart. Baseball seasons aren't sprints. They're endurance tests disguised as rituals. Having Scherzer embedded in spring training, prowling around bullpens, talking through grips and sequences, is value you can't chart on a spreadsheet. If you glance at last year's stat line and shrug, I get it. A bloated ERA never looks pretty on paper. But paper doesn't remember context. It doesn't remember the thumb injury, the uneven rhythm, the nights where brilliance flashed through the cracks. And it certainly doesn't remember Game 7, when his arm was far from perfect, but his nerve was absolute. That's the part that still matters, even now. Where this really gets fascinating is the internal pressure it creates. Suddenly, the rotation isn't just a list, it's a living hierarchy. Jose Barrios, coming off a strange, emotionally complicated finish to last season, knows there's no room for drift. The safety net has barbs. And for Eric Lauer, as solid and commendable as his recent work has been, the message is unmistakable. Performance buys comfort. Projection does not. That's not cruel. That's professional sport at its most honest. You can almost hear Ross Atkins thinking out loud with this move. Depth is insurance, but competition is currency. Look at the broader rotation picture, and it's riddled with question marks dressed up as optimism. Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease will shoulder heavy loads, as expected. Younger arms will need managing, innings will need rationing, and health will never fully cooperate with plans. In that landscape, Scherzer isn't a luxury, he's a stabilizer. What I love most about this potential signing is how unapologetically leans into identity. Last year's club thrived on edge, on vibe, on the sense that every night was a collective dare. That doesn't happen by accident. Veterans like Scherzer don't let complacency breathe. They suffocate it. And if you're enjoying this breakdown, by the way, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It genuinely helps the Blue Jays report keep digging into moments like this, and I promise the season ahead is going to give us plenty. There's also the timing. Spring training is underway, games are unfolding, and the Jays are about to share a field with the Philadelphia Phillies while the rest of the league, from the New York Yankees downward, is already finding its rhythm. If you're going to integrate a mind like Scherzer's, you do it now, not halfway through a summer grind when habits have already set like concrete. So here we are, hovering on the edge of something that feels both nostalgic and forward-thinking. A one-year deal wouldn't be flashy, but it would be loaded with meaning. It would say this team believes its window is still open, that lessons were learned, and that leadership is worth paying for. Whether Scherzer ends up starting a handful of games, emerging from the bullpen, or acting as a relentless, unblinking mentor, the ripple effects would be felt long after his final pitch. As we wait to see if ink actually meets paper, I'll leave you with this thought. Sometimes the most important moves aren't about adding something new, but about reminding everyone who you are. If Max Scherzer really is on his way back, the Blue Jays aren't just reinforcing a rotation, they're reigniting a personality. And that, more than any stat line, might be what pushes this story into its next unforgettable chapter.